Okay, we're back. BOMAC Talk 2026. We are here talking about the resilient workplace. We just discussed the progressive leader. A couple aspects we were talking about: the progressive leader, the mindful manager, the calm culture project, and then the uncertainty advantage. And so we kind of went through the mission and the vision, what those things are, and analyzed what our mission and what our vision was, what AI spit out for us. It was some interesting stuff. So that was the last segment. We're going to start this segment with a reading. This is from McKinsey and Company, an article. I think this is a summary of an article that they did on the disruption. So this is a summary of an article, because the article I think is really, really long. So I think this is a summary of it. But in any case, I'm going to read it. It says, "We've entered an era of continuous disruption where old playbooks no longer deliver sustained performance. Organizations still shape how we work, live, and create value. But as the environment shifts, the strain of those systems is becoming harder to ignore. While leaders remain optimistic about the future, a majority say their organizations aren't fully ready for the changes already underway. Our latest State of Organizations report released today helps explain why. The challenge is not any single disruption. It is how multiple forces are colliding and stretching operating models beyond their limits. AI and automation are reshaping how work gets done, how decisions are made, and where accountability sits. Geopolitical volatility is straining operating models built for scale and stability. Workforce shifts are redefining the employee organizational contract and leadership norms. None of these forces are new. What is different is their scale and convergence. 3 tectonic shifts. Now, they said this. This is not our rewrite. 3 tectonic shifts reshaping how organizations create and sustain performance. Across our work with leaders, one takeaway is clear: sustained performance now depends on rethinking how organizations are designed, led, and experienced end to end. Wow. Yeah. So, and there's, this is not just a single, excuse me, a single organization saying this. There are reports on the, if we're talking top down, it's top down, but even bottom up, there's reports about burnout and different reports about role, definition, whether those are role overlaps, role overload. In some cases, if an individual is in one job description, now they are required with the use of AI to increase their workload, and the expectations are higher. So there's some role confusion about role definition, and then some role overlap as AI comes into play, and maybe even some role overload. I was talking about On last on the last session, how my front desk agent sends me different information to approve, and then the front desk agent, oh, and then the marketing agent. The marketing agent sends a marketing plan. I asked if to do a marketing plan based upon the information, its guardrails. It doesn't have our marketing plan that we've done in the business plan. This is a marketing agent that's provided through our hosting service, and so it goes through providing that, and I have to use AI to compare the marketing plan that we've done in the business plan to the marketing plan that it provided, existing, the new one, new strategic plan that we have, and that. So, in the process of kind of meshing that out, it goes and generates another one. And I'm like, where did that one come from? I don't think I even requested that. It just sent me an email saying, hey, we've updated your marketing plan. And so I was like, oh, when I made changes to the website, it must have triggered the marketing agent. And so um, uh, there are a lot of agents contacting me, wanting, waiting on me. That, and now I've become the bottleneck because I have to keep up with AI, while it's assisting me, and so um, uh, the balance and the tension within that can have some role overload, um, to be able to manage that, right? So that's something new that we're charting through. Like I said, we'll share and keep you posted how we're handling that within the guardrails that we have. We um, something in context. Let me give that some context. Because we put out um, an article and a post about anti-debt. Um, that comes from um, uh, a student loan culture, having been adopted through a student loan culture. Once my siblings, I'm the eldest of 9, began to enlist in school, I began to talk about, not having any to paying for school, not having any debt, stuff like that. So when we began the business, we are bootstrappers, right? So we're bootstrappers, investors, and our mantra is every project has to pay for itself. And so with every project paying for itself, that means the contract has to be profitable. It has to be on our side, our revenue drivers have to have profitable profit margins per unit. And on the contract side to the client and customer, it has to be a profitable contract. And as it relates to some of the groups that we're a dozen communities. We don't frequent them every week. Kind of rotate through there and touch points, touch points maybe for a minute here and there. But that would be applicable, and this has been our policy from day one, based because of the student loan culture that I had already experienced. Um, and hey, it's been rode that. It was good, but we took on a different thought process when building our own business. So every project must pay for itself. And then the way that we handle, and that's from the very beginning, organizations that we would be a part of and have to pay membership for, is that we would every month or every quarter, we would visit a particular group. If we got a client off of that group or made money from that group, then we would use that profit to pay for that membership. So that's how it applies to groups. And we took that approach because the industries to which we serve, we could be part of 20, 30 groups. The expense on an operational budget, overhead, and memberships, it's not, there's no cap. And then once we went to the Central Corridor, they have a culture of these groups. An individual basically could have a 9-to-5 job going to these meeting groups from 8 to 5 o'clock every day. There is somebody meeting in a group talking about their business. And it was just amazing to me. I had never seen anything like that. But it was a very much, I guess, because it's it's a military town, military town. So maybe lots of people coming in, people coming out. So it's a very who you got to kind of get niched in, and I'm not a niche. I'm not a but yeah. So you basically could hire someone, and that's all they would do is go to these groups, introduce the business from 8 to 5. You'll find a group somewhere where you can go 7 days a week. Well, maybe 5 days a week. And so, and each one of those groups may have a fee associated with being a part of that group. And that's even outside industry, outside of chambers. So within Northeast, we are out of Cibolo, Texas. So Northeast of San Antonio, where our business is based, there's at least 4 or 5 chambers within the region to which we could be a member of. And that's outside of community groups, and then professional organizations associated with each industry to which we serve. Yeah, so that's how we parse through that. We have to parse through that in a way that is impactful on our bottom line. We got a lot of grief on it sometimes with clients, as well as with groups. Not liking our policy, or not agreeing with it, or they have their own way of doing things, and so we say, okay, that's cool. That's cool. But wanted to put what we're doing in context so that even if you don't agree with it, you can say, okay, well, at least we know. We know we deal with them, we're gonna have to X, Y, and Z, and they're gonna A, B, C. So yeah, so wanted to kind of reiterate that, and discuss that, since kind of pulling out a lot of context in this session, so we can kind of be understood, not understood. So we're bootstrappers, so we invested our own cash, accumulated our own sweat equity, profit, interest, sweat equity, and built, valuable IP, profit, interest, equity. So our own money, and into other businesses, into our business, and to other businesses and individuals as well. So, um, yeah. So we put our money where our mouth is, and um, um, we have some skin in the game. We got skin. Yeah, we got some skin, skin, flesh, blood, all that in the game. So, all right. So, where I don't know how I got off. I don't know how I got back there in any case, but let's scroll back to, and that's that mantra is a little bit of how we see being sustainable or staying sustainable. So, and it doesn't, all debt is not bad debt and all that kind of stuff. We'll go through all that. I'm just explaining what we've done and why we've done it. And there's many ways to think about that and to deal with that. So that's just one way. So take it or leave it. So mindful manager. The mindful manager for us would be 𝗪𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃. I'm going to say 𝗪𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃. And then the Calm Culture Project, I'm talking about wellness, whether or not you're incorporating arts, sports, faith, physical activity to create this holistic supportive environment when everything else is changing, when all these things are changing, and you want to get that balance and that grounding. We're calling it the Calm Culture Project. What are you going to do? You got to put some things together, put some packages together to help the folks you're working with that. Then the mindful manager, we have a slogan in the video that says "We manage." We were talking about we manage, because we have managed services. And leaders. Some people manage, but you need to be a leader, and so yeah, when we are managing services for someone else, we count on them to take leadership of their organization. And so we complement them, by implementing. And so that's the context of that statement. We said we manage. So the mindful manager, we indicate how to move from surface wellness to deep resilience. And I think we were talking about in here that the mindful manager also understands the difference between AI and a human, and that they use, and that's that uncertainty advantage, change management, which change management is for humans. Project management, yeah, that was the bazinga moment. Project management is for the technical aspects of your operations and organization. And change management is for humans. And so the mindful manager is utilizing emotional intelligence to chart through this hybrid situation that's going through. And it's going to be different for every organization, and because the makeup is going to be different for every organization. So I'm giving these, this infrastructure framework because that's how I process things and that's how I'm delivering it, but it's a little bit more complex than that, right? So the mindful manager for us is in Concord 10, which is project management, which is the technical aspect, right? And then the Calm Culture project is Calm Core 2, which is human capital. That's our human capital piece in there. So that mindful manager is sifting through project management and change management in an agile style. We talk about change management being in this season being very agile and so agile, as agile as your industry, the ebbs and flows of your industry is probably going to determine just how agile you need to be in terms of your change management strategy. Because the disruption is hitting every industry, but some more than others. And so charting through that is going to be specific to your situation. So, but this is, this is our take on it. This is our spiel. This is our take on it. So, kind of discussing how leaders can turn market stress into organizational growth by leaning into presence, purpose, and humanity. So that, that presence is how you show up. That purpose is that mission and vision. And then humanity, understanding the difference, or how to, with emotions, how to deal with the different situations. So, and so our shameless plug within those areas, right? As you do your fatigue test, and see where you are, is the universal language of love, and the upcoming working on the universal language of spiritual management are our pieces of this wellness puzzle that we've created. And it's so timely in that our client base includes school districts, universities, municipalities, and in February, most of the school boards were deciding on Texas schools and SB 11, which was navigating the new faith-based options, whether or not to school districts are voting on whether or not to accept faith-based options for books within the school, right? And so we didn't know that would be happening at the time of our launch, when we were planning the launch, when we were producing its content. We did not know that would be. We attend board meetings. Our contracts have several school districts and member schools in them. And so we attend school district board meetings, trustee meetings, city council meetings, so we can see what's going on with those particular clients so that we can position ourselves to assist them in a relevant way. And so our surprise, is that they were deciding whether or not they could accept a book like The Universal Language of Love within their gates, their libraries. And this is right up our alley, the Universal Language of Management series. We are already in the public library within our base region, in the digital library, and are already in conversation with schools about acquiring those books for STEM purposes, for think it's yeah, so for STEM purposes. And then, and, this being what, Engineers Week, and STEM being a prime focus this week. And so that's just awesome, just right up our wheelhouse. So, so the universal language of love now can join that group. That was like when I was like, okay, this is not going to be as accepted as the STEM books because it's faith-based, and so we were pleasantly surprised. Pleasantly surprised it could just come on in here with the rest of the folks. Well, that's for school districts that accepted it, and so it's a case-by-case basis. But as of March 1st, let's just reiterate this. As of March 1st, Texas school boards deciding whether or not they'll implement a daily period for voluntary prayer and religious study. And under the new law, the districts have the authority to include not just the Bible, but other religious texts. This flexibility allows for a more inclusive approach, incorporating works like the Universal Language of Love by 𝗪𝗵𝗲𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃 for students and families who connect with its themes or spiritual unity and compassion. And so the key implementation pillars. So say you are an individual, you are in the school district, you are a teacher, you are a principal, you are a superintendent, or another a decision maker, owner, manager, administrator. Then there's some key implementation pillars that you have to consider. For school districts, it's there's local control. The school boards have to decide which texts are appropriate for their community. So just like with STEM, the teacher will either purchase it or the principal will purchase it for an event or make it available. And you, as a parent, if you want that particular text, you may introduce it to the teacher, introduce it to the principal, and they may be able to acquire the book for the students, within context where it's appropriate, right? So there's local control. School boards have to decide. Parental choice, you have to, the parents have to opt in. It has to be written consent and liability waivers. And then there's some administrative work that has to be done internally, right? So local control, school boards have to decide, and then parental choice, there has to be a written consent and a waiver. But then there is this issue of, okay, I don't want we are of a different faith. We don't believe this should be, we don't agree with what the board has decided. So we don't want our students involved with that. So there's this, within the schools, there'd be some tension as to how it's carried out, because it has to take place away from non-consenting students who do not have permission. So as districts have already approved or have not, said yes, no, yay, or nay, the focus remains on balance and religious expression with the diverse student body, and how would one implement the universal language of love? So, as I said, under these guidelines, the district-specific religious study policy, district approval, it would be categorized as a religious text. The universal language of love would be categorized as a religious text. But the rest of the management series are STEM materials. So the first 4 books, the Universal Language of Project Management, the Universal Language of Core Systems Management, the Universal Language of Asset Lifecycle Management, the Universal Language of Nonverbal Communications Management. Those are all technically based. Those are STEM related. So for your science, technology, engineering, and math, which most times it's in high school level. However, they start with AI and AI first, this mobile first generation. It could be much younger, junior high, middle school. The the books would be available for STEM exercises, teaching activities, within the same style that the Universal Language of Love was displayed in the launch. All of the books have activities at the end of the chapters to which you can do exercises to apply the principles discussed within that chapter. All the books are like that. We had more time. Well, let's say more time, but the 4 books prior to the Universal Language of Love, we launched in a year. We started Universal Language of Project Management was launched in February on President's Day in 2018. I want to say 2018 or yes, 2018. And then the other 3 books followed suit by the end of that year. Maybe the next January, the last book came out. So yeah, 4 to 6 months in between each, maybe. So the Universal Language of Love, we were able to launch that a little differently. The book is as it should be. We haven't had practice on the first 4. Is formatted a little bit different, appropriate to its content, and its launch playlist shows different activities that can be done in congruence with the book. Now, in this particular case, and maybe this, more so for Christian-based schools, because in this particular SB 11 case, no instructor is in there conducting the activities. They have to do it on their own. They have to do it. It has to be student-led, I guess, student-fed and student-led, perhaps. But just very interesting discussion that was so appropriate to the content we have been sharing with the Universal Language of Love. So I just had to take time to reiterate that amazing genius of love and how he just intricately pulled that in there together and made it just so sweet. So sweet. Yeah, so when kind of charting what your calm culture project's going to be, that's our calm culture project. Is the Universal Language of Love did wonders for us in 2025. I think I spoke about it before. I usually, I don't know what the trigger is, but usually in the same time of year, a certain time of year, or in certain situations, I will have panic attacks. And this study that I did that eventually has become the Universal Language of Love actually helped me through those situations. And 2025, I didn't have any panic attacks. And so it's amazing what a calm culture project can do. um, and it could be sports, arts, music, faith. I do all that. I'm in the sports, arts, music, dance, and faith. So I got it all in my project. All of that is in my project. So you'll have to chart what that's going to be like for you. And so and that's just a recap. That's I was just kind of re-presenting it a little better than maybe a little better than the last time. And maybe touched upon in a little bit more detail than previous. So and wow. Oh, wow. Okay. So went fast today. So what do I want to wrap up with? Because it looks like we're gonna have to wrap it up. We're gonna have to wrap it up. So let me don't want to get too deep into a discussion I can't finish. Don't start now, you can't finish. So I'm thinking resistance. Okay, yeah. I probably this probably be a good yeah, this is a good place. Yeah, so human capital for us core 2, it's human capital. Core 10 is project management, where we manage the process and structure, workflows in relationship to the technical side of service delivery, and even managed services, right? So this is a resistance management script. And so this is just an example, and AI did help kind of put this together. So I'm gonna go through this, and if there's anything that needs to be like changed and corrected, we'll kind of deal with that. But in any case, change management understands that there is going to be resistance. There's going to be resistance, and I think oh man, that definition, we needed to say that again. The change management is where a mindful manager, your intent is not to leave anybody behind and not to have your good people quit because something changed in regards to their work. And things with AI, it's gonna change with your workflow. I had to get too used to it too, because you have to figure out, okay, well, what is my role now? If I'm not doing the marketing, if it took me, a month of my time to pull together a quarterly report, and now I could do it in a week. What am I doing for the rest of the time that I used to have in that space? What does work look like now? What does my workflow look like in a quarter now? I can pack more into it, but do I want agents to be giving me work? I have to ask the question, do I want agents to be giving me work? Or do I want them to implement the work? And if I want them to implement the work and not give it to me, then how does that get done with the right guardrails and permissions? Do I want them to have access to all of, to stuff, because I created a couple of agents and say, okay, now connect this and connect that. I'm like, oh no, I'm not giving you those permissions. And with AI now that it has permissions, if you are in application now that has AI, it has permissions based upon your use of that application. And the extent of that is, for me, is still unclear. Still unclear. So, yeah, there's going to be some resistance, and we're talking about the tension and anxiety associated with that. And even when you're going faster, when you're going fast, you're like, okay, how fast do I want to go? How fast is, uh, I slowed down on purpose because I can go, woo. I was just like, oh my goodness, this is just because it's been taking me so long to do something or whatever. Now that I have a tool like this, I'm like, man, I'm running circles. I'm like, woo, woo. And I'm like, wait a minute, this just, let me slow it down because I'm like, wow. But there'll be some resistance because even though I'm embracing it and I'm able to purposely slow myself down, it may be difficult and a difficult adoption uh, in other areas, in other instances, like the speed to which we adopt. I'm gating that, um, just because that change management piece. Our schools, some, 80, 90, 100% of our clients, they can't adopt as fast as we can. And our hub is our website. And so if we want them to utilize that, or the information to which we acquired that 5-year contract or the 2-year contract was based upon information, the way that it is, where it's structured and where to find it, just up and ending all that and revamping it and doing all this stuff and disorienting our user is not something that we want. That's not something we can do. We have to gradually show up and make changes and let folks know what we're doing, like we always do. That's how we've done it. That's how we've done things, and that's how we'll continue to do things. And so, because of that, we have to kind of pace through it, step by step. Okay, this is what we're working through. This is what we've done. This is where you can find stuff. This is where we change stuff. There's too much on our hub to just upend it, disoriented because, oh, AI is here. They're like, whirlwind. Everybody's like caught up in a whirlwind. Where is everything? So yeah. So that's our resistance. That's the tension with our resistance. That okay, there's some things that has to, within our change management process, has to be this is our resistance management script. Okay, so this is the template, and this is a template. I would say this is a template or a structure, a framework. You can create your own, create a different one, what have you. But the reason, it starts with the reason. Here is why we are changing. Oh, it's easy. Here's why we're changing. Sometimes just saying why, even if folks don't agree, there's still resistance. You can't please everybody, but just have a reason why. Not just because AI is here, but there should be a reason why the change is happening to your particular business in that particular way, in that particular timing. Why this has to be done in 7 days versus 30 days? What has to be done in, why can't it take 90 days, 120 days? The reason, here's why we are changing. reason for the change. Yeah, why now? Then the impact. The biggest shift for you, the biggest shift for me, the biggest shift for the team, the biggest shift for the client, the biggest shift for, our industry, whatever target group, the biggest shift for our owners, managers, administrators are the knowing what specific behavior or a process will change and the impact that that's going to have. And that's kind of what I was expressing, is that our resistance is built upon, the impact, the impact and how it would impact the end user or our clients. And so who cannot adopt AI or use AI yet. It's gated, right? They may use it personally, but unless the organization adopts it in some way, they may not be able to utilize it readily. And so we won't want to introduce a lot of services and products that have to be approved in a way that is different than our contract terms. So yeah, so impact, the action. When is this going to happen? I mean, what's the start date? How long? What's the new standard? What's the procedure? What's the process? What's the end game? And then the support. What happens during that period? How am I going to get introduced to the change? Will we have support and training, which is so important. If a mindful manager is really intending on not leaving anyone behind, then this training piece and that support piece have to be a part of the component. And whether it's learn at your own pace or it's structured learning, so that they feel like, oh, if I get stuck or if I get into a situation, I don't have to panic. I don't have to be frantic. All the emotions, all the frustration. Here's a number you can call. This is who you can talk to. And I don't know if it's going to be an AI agent. Just make sure it's a good one, impactful one, because there is nothing like if you call in somewhere or you reaching out for support or some kind of training and you get a resource, whether it's AI agent or otherwise, that cannot solve your problem. I think we have a saying, have a good service is those competent solutions, right? The ability to support, train in a competent way, that you're solving problems. You're solving problems and alleviating frustrations. Nothing more that makes you even more frustrated than to get in a AI loop. You're like, representative, representative. I want to talk to a representative. I want to talk to a real person. So if you're going to use the AI, make sure it works, that it is supportive, and that it's offering some real value, and not amplifying the stress and anxiety already of the end user. So the support, so important. If mindful manager, be very specific about your support in the calm project aspect of it, and the change management process, which we are suggesting as we wrap up, a resistance management script. Have an structured way to deal with, or to talk through, have a talk track, knowing that there's going to be resistance, how to, with some emotional intelligence, alleviate that. Then the follow-up, review the progress, where folks can give some kind of feedback. You can see how, not just by numbers, how it's being adopted, but be able to get that bottom-up, top-down feedback as to how the change is being received, and progressing, reviewing progress in a certain cadence, whatever that cadence is going to be. So have a resistance management plan with some scripts as to how to handle those things. I'm all about the written scripts. Otherwise, I'll be like, right? Okay, so wow, it went fast this Friday. Okay, all right. Yeah, I got my power naps. I'm in there. So hope this was a little better. Maybe I got a better score this time for my folks out there tuning in with their scorecards. BOMAC Talk 2026. We're discussing on today wellness when everything changes. So I hope you enjoy. Thank God it's Friday. Enjoy your Friday and your weekend. Make sure you get some rest, and whatever you do to relax and recharge. And we'll connect with you on next Friday. All right. Sign it off.